Michael, on Justice Serve TV, we have so many good law enforcement officers. One will be on tonight. And then we have Kelsey's case and we have Guthrie's case. Are they just F-ups else out there if they're not on Justice Serve TV?
I don't know. I hope they're aberrations. That's what I hope. We're going to get into something old, something new. Is there anything borrowed in blue? No, I don't think so.
Justice, where are you? Michael and Linda are here.
Love you, Linda.
The world is justice. Will we ever find justice?
The courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing
Will
"Oh
we
Happy
know
Day."
justice when we see it? To be and down me, I lead the way. Hoping justice will win the day. Listener clues, finding justice where we can. Join us now, we're on the run. Justice is waiting, we'll see it done.
Hey, partner, good to see you. I hope you had a nice, relaxing weekend. Yes?
Yeah. We're relaxing and worked and, but it was fine. Thank you. We're at the cabin. We're at 2B Bluffs. Came up on Saturday and we've been working from here, which we'll continue to work from here all week if all goes well.
Good. This was one of the old things I mentioned, something old. I was gone all
What
last
is that,
week.
Doers?
This is Doers. I got back and it's gone. So
That's because you poured it down the toilet.
all I can say is if we have a case with a judge or a Justice Jameson, I'm in trouble. That's all I can tell you.
By the way, I see people are noticing my sweatshirt. This is from the Justice Serve TV store. This was actually signed by Dizzy. It has leggings. I don't know if I took the leggings off on the store, but yeah, it's a hoodie from the Justice Serve TV store. So
cool.
And it has purple in it, which everyone's wearing purple for Kelsey. So I thought I would, follow up with a little thematics here.
No, all righty then. And before we get to that, and we have Jodine Weber standing by because she's going to have a take on both cases we're talking about today. But first, okay, go ahead, dive in, and then I will dive in.
I can't get out of Massachusetts. I used to have a cabin up there, and somehow I left, but now it's dragging me back because through our friend Boston Mike, who reposted another someone else, right? But I lost the name of that. I'm sorry. That former Lieutenant Jennifer Penton has been indicted by a grand jury of charges of involuntary manslaughter. Now you may ask who she is. She also has charges of causing serious bodily injury and perjury in connection with the death of, all in the chat, you know it, 2024 death of Trooper Enrique Delgado Garcia, who was a recruit in Massachusetts. Now, she's going to face charges. I guess there'll be an arraignment. It looks like April 2nd, which is just a couple days away, Michael Bryant.
I know. The first thing I thought was, and this is unfair, my fault. First thing I thought when I read this was, oh, they're sticking it to another woman. That was the first thing I thought. And I don't know enough to even make that statement, but I did.
Yeah, I did.
We'll see how it plays out.
By the way, because everything is connected, apparently Miss Penton appeared in a reality series in 2013 called Boston Finest alongside of, come on, chat.
Ready?
Ready? Initials BA.
Was that Mr. Albert?
Yes, Brian Albert. Okay. All right. So you can go find that clip online somewhere. Apparently she wanted to make a difference, which many people who go into police work do want to make a difference. And she certainly has, hasn't she? Destroyed a family, if the charges are true.
Yes, if they're true. And at this point, not enough is known. Interesting development. All right, some breaking news. The Sheila Duffy mug controversy. Those who may remember, Sheila Duffy, one of our fine mods, earned a Where in the World is Justice mug. I don't know how long ago, 5-10 years ago, it seems. We've only been around 18 months. But anyway, so I sent it to her in Ireland, and it came back as some sort of contraband, explosive material, whatever. It never got there after a month ping-ponging back and forth. So we've come up with a way through a series of clandestine meetings and black ops. We're going to get her this mug. It's now out the door, on the way to an undisclosed location where it will be picked up, taken to another undisclosed location where it ultimately will be handed to her. So
here it comes. Here it is.
Yeah.
Where in the world is justice? Look at that. Mine's filled with pens and markers. Yeah, it's completely filled.
Mine's full of doers. I mean, Jameson. I mean, water.
Why this fixation with doers? You should tell people, because most people don't know the story.
Yeah, those who have followed the SJC case, Kelsey Fitz Simmons, seems like so long ago when she was locked up, and there was an appeal filed, single justice appeal, the SJC, Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts, single justice appeal denied. That was Doer. That was Justice Doer. And,
or you used to call her Duar.
It's Duar. Yeah, that was her. And I'm sure she's caused many to take a drink. Anyway, so what else? Oh, Massachusetts again. This is an update on the body cam footage that I've been told exists as it relates to my lawsuit against the Massachusetts State Police. So they say, yeah, it exists. And every time I reach out and say, what's the deal? What's the latest? It's been 2 months. January 27th is when I asked for it. And I asked for it based on their revelation in the lawsuit discovery that it exists. Okay, so it's not like, oh God, what do we tell this person? It exists. They've answered that under oath. So I keep getting this back. Please be advised, the Public Records Unit processes requests in the order they are received. Due to the high volume of requests we receive daily, we did not yet have a chance to process your request. We appreciate your patience as we diligently work through the high volume queue. Do I believe that? No, they are dragging their ass like they do all the time. But we will get it, either through litigation or through my FOIA-esque request. We'll get that.
I remember, everybody, that's with Michael Bryant, the first day at Karen Reed. We know it well, April 1st, April Fool's Day. They were starting to pick a jury, and Michael Bryant was there. We were just on the air. We were really starting, and it was our first live coverage full-time of a trial. And as we were on the air, Michael Bryant gets stopped by Trooper Hardman, okay, because he walked 5 times on a sidewalk, and you didn't want to see him a 6th time. Didn't want to see him a 6th time, even though he had, he said he was a member of the press, blah, blah, blah. And then
I don't even need to be. I'm on a public sidewalk. Why would you need to be a member of the press?
I know, you're on a public sidewalk. Yeah.
Can you believe?
And they called you an agitator. They've called you an agitator.
Not just that, a known agitator.
A known agitator.
So good to be known for something. It's hard to believe Wednesday will be 1 year since that happened.
Unbelievable when you think about it.
It is.
Sure. Unbelievable.
Okay, so again, as you suggest, we cannot get our butts out of the Northeast Massachusetts. This happened. So this happened. Remember, there was a little mistake. I'm going to zoom in as best I can. It's poorly written. And as we know, these judges in that part of the world like to write on an existing document, just to make it more difficult. This one at least is typed out. We've seen, remember, Judge Cannoni would scrawl something, scrawl it on the bottom of an order. What the hell is that? This is written. This was the Karen Reed made a mistake, forwarded an email that contained some attorney-client privilege material. It happens. Attorneys are far from perfect. Right. And as long as you reach out immediately to the other side and say, hey, oopsie, can you please get rid of that as quickly as possible and don't disclose it? And it's a professional courtesy, because there, but for the grace of God, every attorney goes.
Right. So every attorney, and sometimes even a judge.
Yeah. And so in this case, whatever those communications were, let's just say the other side was being kind of pissy about it and didn't really fight getting rid of it, but they were suggesting the privilege, attorney-client privilege, had been waived, which of course nobody wants to do. So if I can give you a little more room here, spread that baby out. There we go. March 27th. So this was Friday. We were kind of jammed up Friday when this came down. As noted in the Charm case, a client who seeks to preserve the attorney-client privilege has a responsibility to be careful, particularly when using a means of communication that poses known and obvious risks. This was the deadly reply all. Don't ever do the reply all. And you know what now? And maybe you'll relate to this. The group text has become the new reply all danger.
Yes. Yeah. And you see the beginning first person or the second person.
And you might see a little teeny bubble of somebody. You have to really look it over, or your text becomes a chain that you don't like.
I know in the reply on mail, what I used to tell my staff, when we used to do like lots of things. It was never carbon copy anything to your client. When you used to do that through email, always forward it always to your client as a separate issue, so that you didn't have that kind of like issue going on. Now it's in the text. Now it's the text chains.
It is, and it can be anything from embarrassing to inappropriate to illegal. So be very careful. Although this defendant did not meet that responsibility, meaning, she sent it reply all, the importance of the attorney-client privilege in our legal system outweighs that failure. Defendant's motion seeking deletion of the email and any copies is allowed, although plaintiff's concerns about potential use of the email for impeachment purposes may appear to the defendant as unfounded. If such concern becomes reality, the issue is preserved as the email remains under seal with the court. So yeah, so when this goes to trial in 2030, we'll see if it becomes an issue by then. Anyway, so
you're hopeful. You're hopeful 2030.
Yeah, I know. I've been far more pessimistic. I just hope to be alive when it goes to trial. Let's see. I think that's all I have for you today. Yes, that's all I got. Okay.
So in the meantime, I want you all to hit that subscribe, like, share, notify, and hype button. Please get us into the algorithm. We have some incredible shows that we just had, and some incredible shows coming up this week, which we'll go into more at the end of the episode here. So you're gonna have to stay with us to the end. Some of it, one of them, you see already on our YouTube page, but you don't know about the rest, and you won't unless you're staying here with us at Justice Served TV.
We have a great guest tomorrow night and great guest Thursday, both of which I can't wait to talk to. We still have Wednesday open. Is that right?
We still have Wednesday open. We already have our Wednesday member set for this week and next week already set. And we'll go through that. Wednesday's still open. We're working on something.
Okay. So without any further fondue, as I used to say, there she is.
Jodine, we're gonna have to get you one of these sweatshirts, because everyone wants one of these hoodies from our Justice Served TV stores.
Oh yes, it looks very springish, very Easterish, and yes, I feel like.
Are you in an undisclosed location? Because your background looks a little bit different.
Yes, I am no longer residing in Pennsylvania. I have successfully moved to a warmer climate, and I'm in temporary location for the next few months until my new residence is built.
Well, it looks pretty terrific.
So I'm happy to see you guys, and thanks for having me on again.
Oh, of course. It's been a while. Of course, Jodine is a retired special agent for the FBI. Did 22 years there. Before that was a TV person. I don't know. Yeah. How would I best describe that? Would you reporter?
I was a TV news anchor and a reporter.
Okay. Where were you on the desk? What town?
I was at WEAU, Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It was an NBC affiliate in about the 120th market. And, just happy to have a job in television coming out of college, and worked my way up and, met an FBI agent, and he recruited me, and the rest is history. Here I am 30 years later.
And now,
a colleague at Law and Crime, Aaron Keller, who also started in Wisconsin, I believe.
Yes, he did. That's right.
Yes, he did. He covered the what was the word? Making of a Murderer. That's from Wisconsin. That case, right?
Yeah. That case. Yeah.
But this is more important. This is more important.
Controversy.
I know.
We covered Dahmer there. I mean, we had some big cases there.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Yep.
That's right. Nasty. And the death of Dahmer.
Yes. I'll never.
How long did he last in prison?
The wire. Yeah, he was murdered in Portage County Correctional Facility.
Yeah.
And the guy he was murdered with, there was another inmate that was murdered with him,
I didn't
Jesse Anderson, and he was like the number 2 inmate in Wisconsin. That was very similar to the Charles Stewart case out of Boston, where he had murdered his wife in a Fridays parking lot, and then tossed a ball cap down and claimed that a black assailant had murdered his wife. And it turned out he had gone to the Grand Avenue Mall in downtown Milwaukee near Marquette University a couple weeks prior and purchased a hat from a kid. And when the kid saw this news story about this hat being found in the Fridays parking lot, he's like, that's the hat the guy bought from me at the mall. And this kid called into the police and said, there's a stain inside the lid, and I sold it to this guy. You can probably get the video at the mall. And so this kid was a hero. And so Jesse Anderson was murdered alongside Dahmer. So it was a huge story in Wisconsin.
Holy cow.
Well, you know what? That makes me think, Michael, Bryant, that this would be a good episode for Jodine. We could do Dahmer and Jesse Anderson as an episode or 2 episodes. That would be fabulous.
Remind me, Jodine, because I get my prison murders confused. Was it was it the weight room or was it a shiv?
It was in the weight room. Dahmer had requested to be taken out of solitary confinement. He had essentially found God and wanted to be in the general population, and he knew the risk. But yes, they were downstairs cleaning the gym and the locker room, and one was killed in the gym area and then into the changing areas.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. I think for our mods that are on there, we should set this up, maybe a pre-taping so we can get it all ready, and then run it as a premiere on a Friday. That'd be a fabulous episode. And I think his mother is still alive. Dahmer's mother's still alive, still advocating for him, I think. If I recall.
Well, yes. And she was one of the big things after his trial was what would happen after he was killed and what would happen to his brain and studying the brain. And if I recall correctly, the father wanted his brain studied and the mother fought against it.
Wow.
So kind of interesting, I felt, because I do wonder, when we hear so much about CTE, you wonder, did he have some sort of brain abnormality? Did he have some sort of injury from early in life that may have caused his violence? Yeah. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Very interesting. As a matter of fact, that was very common also to study the brains of the assassins of the presidents of the United States. My husband and I have written a lot about that and all. And we actually went down to the museum down there in Washington, D.C. And you can actually, they have like the brain tissues, or at one point they had the skull of one of the assassins and it's disappeared. Somebody must have taken it home as a souvenir along the way. And that's another thing. So it's been, the issue of brain study has been in the public light for people that are murderers in the public light for a long time.
For those who may not recall, CTE, you really can't diagnose until death.
Right.
So it makes it very difficult. People don't really want to volunteer to be
right. And as everyone knows, my client Aaron Hernandez, when I represented him with Jose and Ron, we had the not guilty in the double homicide after he was found guilty in the single homicide. We sent his brain to study after fighting with the medical examiner, and it was the worst case that Boston University had ever seen for somebody that young, 28 years old, with the CT at a level, way up there. So it's just an interesting area, because every time I look at football, and as you all know, I love to watch my Jets, but for a while there, after dealing with Aaron and all, and getting close to Aaron, and then he killed himself, it was very hard to watch a football game because all I could do was see every hit was CTE. So.
Well, I want to flash back to what we were just talking about in terms of that guy who was a hero by revealing information. Right. First, let me do the plug for the book.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
I just learned this today. I was looking at something. This was originally going to be called The Bald Deception. Is that right?
It was originally going to be called The Bald Revelation.
Bald Revelation. And now
yes. And then a very astute author friend of mine said, I don't like that title, Jody. That's going to put you in the religious section of the bookstore with Revelation.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting.
Oh, wow.
Like, well, thinking about algorithms, I think you're right.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Okay. Yeah. Well, don't look in that section for the book. It's not in that section. Maybe I should call you Claudia.
Oh.
So
yes,
there's a double entendre, The Bald-Faced. For those who didn't follow us on the book club, check this out. It's a great book. And while I'm in the middle of Plug Fest, don't forget to check out, I always get the name of this wrong. Sorry. Let me get it right. It's the drama, Caught in My Web.
Caught in My Web. Yeah. Play on my last name.
You do that a few times a week, right?
Yeah, I do it 5 days a week. And we cover all the big cases, just like you guys do, only, not as well as you do, but I try my best.
Nice. Okay. So with the thought in mind that this kid in that case you just spoke of, said something, saw something, said something, put pieces together. The SAVANNAH Guthrie interview relating to the disappearance of her mom, pleads for people to basically do that somebody must have seen something, must have heard something, because at this point, what are we, 8 weeks? And from your perspective, we wanted to look at a couple of clips from that interview, which she clearly did to help the investigation, as well as to kind of vent. And she's making her way back to the Today Show, I think, week after next. So there are many purposes for doing this, which is why we're sharing bits and pieces of it. but from your perspective, I wanted to. I'm going to queue up to the couple of different spots here.
Yeah, and while he queues up, we're also going to be talking using Jodine to talk about Kelsey, and she is going to give us the reasons why, in sequential order, why Nunan is a bad shoot. But you have to stay with us because we have a lot happening tonight on our show.
Nunan is the definition of a bad. Did you say bad shoot or bad shit? I'm sorry, I didn't.
I said shoot.
Might have misheard you there.
Misheard me.
Okay. All right. Okay. So this is the information I don't think was out there until she gave this interview. So I want to get your reaction to it, how it might affect any investigation or what they've done to this point and what's next.
She was in a panic. I was in a panic. I'm like, call 911. Yeah. She's like, I did. We called them. They're here. And we thought that she must have had like some kind of medical episode in the night, and that somehow, you know, the paramedics had come because the back doors were propped open, you know, and that didn't make any sense. We thought maybe they came and there was a stretcher and they took her out the back. But her phone was there and her purse was there and all her things. And it just didn't make any sense. So, you know, Annie and Tommy had already called all the hospitals, but then.
So that's the family had done what they had done. So I want to focus on the doors propped open, number one. The purse is there, the phone is there, and her things, whatever that means. What does that tell you about whatever it was that happened that night?
Well, I do think, number one, we had heard rumblings that the back doors had been wide open. So that, number one, confirms that the back doors were propped open. But prop to me indicates something was used to hold the door open.
That's what I thought.
What was it? Was it something brought by the perpetrator, like a wedge or something? Or is it something just they took a shoe or propped a chair or something against the door to keep it open? I think that's interesting because to me, if you're alone, if you're a solo perpetrator, you would need something to prop open a door if you're trying to drag a body out. I also think it's interesting if you look at an aerial view of Nancy Guthrie's property in the back, there's a lawn area, very manicured, and that's surrounded by a brick wall. And then there's the pool area that has a separate brick wall. There's some areas to sit outside, courtyard areas, those have brick walls. I'm curious if the perpetrator tried to drag Nancy out, got her out the back through the propped open back door, but then forgot about those brick walls and couldn't get her over the wall. So that's why she ended up being taken out the front door and why we see the trail of blood out the front. That to me would kind of make sense.
Yeah, the first thing I thought was propping the door open. If you have a partner in this crime, you don't need to prop the door open. One person holds the door and the other person handles the victim.
And with the blood spatter in the front, as my husband points out, that he thinks that was clearly from the mouth or the nose because they have those ghost spots in the middle, which means saliva or something that's in the middle that makes sense.
And there's no real, I know you call it the spatter, but they're more like drops.
The drops.
They were
drops.
Correct. And it appeared to me, and I have limited blood spatter training, but to me it appeared rapid drops. Very quick drops close in proximity to each other, which would indicate to me that the blood was falling quickly from something, from a nose or a wound. So I did find that significant, the fact that even though the back was propped open, there was a need to go out the front. And clearly she did go out the front because we've got that blood trail there. So when I looked at the property, once I saw those brick walls, that made more sense to me as to why they would need to go out the front.
Yeah. And it was so confusing about forced entry or not, and where they really left the property. So what about the no phone, no purse? I mean, obviously, if you're kidnapping somebody, you don't ask them, you got your purse, you got your phone, are you ready to leave? So what does that tell you?
Well, to me, that does make this seem more like a deliberate abduction as opposed to any sort of burglary. Because if you were going to take items of value, you would want to take a wallet. You would want to take any cash, anything like that. The fact you leave a phone behind, I would anticipate that, because you don't want something to track you where you're going. So I wasn't surprised they left her phone. I do think there was a clip from Savannah where she said, she was taken in her pajamas.
Oh,
no
wait,
shoes.
hold on.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Let's
Yes.
listen to that. I got to find it here now. I wasn't able to cue it up that quickly. Stand by. Let me find that for you. Because that was the other thing that kind of I cocked my head and went, really? That's curious. Because whether the cops were making that, a secret or not, I don't know. But I had never heard that before. That's pretty specific.
Right.
Right.
Very specific. And
I
also,
do have a
it seems to
couple thoughts
indicate,
on that.
yeah, it seems to indicate that there might be more camera stuff, but we'll talk about that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, when you go into somebody's house, how many times do we see people that are kidnapped or sexually assaulted and disappear, and their purses and stuff gone with them? Not the phone, but their credit cards, and then credit cards get used, and the money gets
At an
used.
ATM. Yeah. And you're right. And sometimes, like we saw that with Israel Keys, he did a kidnapping and took the victim to an ATM to use her card, and then even took her home, I think, to get another card. So it does happen where the abduction takes place or a kidnapping takes place so that they can access the bank accounts of the victim. But we didn't see that in this case. So to me, that would indicate a different motive. And we're potentially looking at a sexual assault component. I know that's disturbing to think about, but that does happen. And typically when there are elderly victims of sexual assault, typically the perpetrators are in their 20s. That there's data to support that. So that's something to think about. And then you have to think about, well, a motive. Was it a financial motive to try to get money from Savannah and the family? And then something went sideways during the commission of the kidnapping. Either she died in transport or shortly thereafter. And then proof of life just couldn't be provided.
Yeah, and the value drops dramatically then.
Right.
Okay, let's listen to this that you queued up so nicely for us. Here we go.
How is it possible that we are having to make a video speaking to a kidnapper who took an 84-year-old woman in the dead of night in her pajamas with no shoes, without her medicine, this little person, and to beg for mercy.
That part, the pajamas to me was maybe expected. How she knew or didn't know that, I don't know. But the shoes thing was more intriguing to me. She only has one pair of shoes. I mean, how would you know she didn't have any shoes on?
So I would take a couple possibilities from that. We know at one point she is bleeding. So it's possible if she was barefoot, she bled onto her toes, and then there was some sort of footprint or track from her toes or feet on perhaps a tile flooring or the outdoor cobblestone patio area. I think that's possible. She could have left some sort of print. I also think it's possible there may have been indoor cameras we don't know about. That hasn't been disclosed to us. And a lot of people do have their indoor cameras pointed at their doorways. So that way, if there is an intrusion, you capture the perpetrator coming in and out. And so she was taken, either attempted to be taken through those back doors that are propped open. Perhaps they could see, perhaps there's drag marks they can see if she was dragged outside and you have that sandy type of surface. Perhaps they could tell there that it was from a foot and not a shoe or a covered foot. And perhaps there's footage where they can see that. I also think with the elderly, especially if they have any sort of orthopedic issue with their feet, they may only have one or two pairs of shoes that they routinely wear, especially if they have bad toes. A lot of them have hammer toes or different kinds of just orthopedic issues where they can't put their full weight on their feet.
She had a cane that was left behind, Jodine. Let me remind you of that.
Well, and that would almost indicate to me that perhaps she was carried pretty quickly. That my understanding from Savannah was that on a good day, she could walk to the mailbox, but it wasn't something she could do routinely without having trouble, that it would be very difficult for her.
That was one of the first things that came out. You know, she needs her meds every day, and she can only walk a certain distance. How about this? Is this possible? And whatever happened in the house, the shoes came off, and so they're in kind of a cattywampus location in the house, indicating they were worn recently. You know, she doesn't just throw her shoes off in the middle of the room, right?
And that does happen when you drag a body. Shoes do come off, absolutely. So I think that's all possible, and I think too the fact that they just seem to know what is there and what isn't there. And I would think that would be one of the initial things that law enforcement would have gone over with Savannah's sister and brother-in-law is, okay, let's take a look around the house. What else besides your mother is missing here? Are you missing jewelry? Are you missing money, valuables, silver, gold, things of that nature? Then what medications does she have? Are those missing? Are her wallet, are her checkbooks, credit cards, any of that missing? And they're going to do an assessment. What has been touched and what hasn't been disturbed in that house? And if the only thing that was really targeted was Nancy, then that becomes part of your working profile as to what the perpetrator was there for. What was the purpose?
Yeah, and everything you say tells me it was a targeted attempt to kidnap her for ransom. And I've always believed that it was some boneheads that had no idea what they were getting into. They carried it out sloppily, and then she didn't survive. And therefore, there is, I guess, certainly to the family, they'd like to know where she is.
Right.
But in terms of a big payday, I think they probably just panicked at that point.
And Michael, I don't know if you pull out anything else on the clips, but there was a report that when Savannah issued her second statement or third statement that she gave after the second ransom note, that they were specifically addressing the fact that they had been told that there was a report that the mother had died, that they didn't mean it, that they were sorry. And that's what she was addressing, that we just want her home, tell us where she is so we can get her home. But that they didn't mean for her to die in this process. And that has to be, I mean, just gut wrench. And I don't know how you live day to day, gut wrenching, knowing, you know, your mom was fine, then she's not. And I don't know about you, Jodine, but as a woman, maybe you too, Michael, as a man, seeing that guy at that front door, right?
That was terrifying.
Terrifying.
That was terrifying. And I've worked some terrifying cases.
Yeah, can you imagine waking up to that? And then you know that that was the last person maybe that your mother ever saw. And, you know, the guilt has to be just enormous.
Yeah, and Savannah did talk about that, of course. At full disclosure, Savannah and I are professional friends, having worked at Court TV together. It's just so hard to see all of that. I do want to just do one last clip, and this is really, I think, the reason she was doing this is to just reach out and see if there's anybody that can help in any way. As she's said many times, it's never too late to do the right thing.
Whoever can hear this and find it in their heart to help.
Yes. You're focusing on people in Tucson. Somebody there must have seen or known something and maybe forgot about it or didn't pay attention to it.
How can someone vanish without a trace?
Yeah.
How? Someone knows something, even if that something is someone's been acting strange for the last 7-8 weeks, even if it's just that, somebody knows.
So, Jodine, in your experience at this stage in an investigation, where are you? What are you doing at the FBI? I mean, is it as desperate as hopefully somebody shows up and tells us the hat is the one he sold referencing your prior story?
Well, you always want to keep lines of communication open with the public. Go back, look at your calendar books. They've made a lot of points to mention January 11th. Savannah, even in the family statement just prior to her interview with Hoda, mentioned look back at January 11th. If there's anything that stands out to you on that day, or January 31st, February 1st. When I think about January 11th, that was a weekend, just like the weekend that Nancy was abducted or kidnapped for ransom. I think when I think about what are people doing at that time of year, well, most people are taking down their holiday decorations. They're putting their tree out to the curb. They're having a crew come to take the lights down. They're having the wreaths taken down from every window in the house. Think about, was there services that came around that were working in the neighborhood at that time? People who may have only been at her house once, that may have identified she was living alone and then came back that night to scope out the property. I think little things like that, the public can call in and say, hey, this may be nothing, but I had a day laborer and he was taking down my lights. Here's his name and number. Check him out. That could be something that could help. But as for what the FBI is looking at right now, they're going to focus on the DNA and where that is at the laboratory, if genetic genealogy will be needed, investigative genetic genealogy to identify a suspect. They will go back and review from day one on, review all the tips that came in, see if anything was missed. And then I think they will try to identify what leads have we not covered? What other theories can we look into that we haven't explored up to now? What can we look at with a fresh set of eyes? Is there other ways we can find video? Were there other vehicles? How many Teslas are in that neighborhood? Do they have video? Things like that. They'll try to think outside of the box and try to lead generate in a new way. The other way I think this case could potentially break open is if the perpetrator commits another act of violence or acts out again in some way, shape, or form, and then is arrested, jammed up. Then they may be willing to provide information in order to get some sort of cooperation deal.
Yeah,
But
and you
that's
think,
where I
then,
think things are at.
do you think that last analysis suggests that it would be sort of, not, I don't want to say career criminal, but not a rookie? And have you seen anything in this case up to this point that suggests this person or persons were experienced, were pros at this?
I don't think they're pros, certainly not a cartel kidnapping or anything like that. But I do think this could be a petty criminal up until this point. Someone who did break into homes or did break into cars, something like that, may have some drug utilization, things of that nature. And then perhaps realized or became aware there's this elderly lady here. She's got a very high profile daughter. There could be money. And suddenly it's like, okay, I'm going to raise the stakes. I'm going to raise the game and I'm going to attempt this.
Right. And Michael, Bryant, and I will say to everyone out there, and if you're watching this and you have something to do with this, or you know something, if you don't feel comfortable going to the police, Michael and I are two lawyers. You can certainly email us at justiceservedtv at gmail.com, justiceservedtv@gmail.com, and tell us what you know. And we'll act as your intermediary if that gets Savannah her mom back.
I also think, I just thought of one other thing that I've thought of. I think the fact that Savannah always releases her messages on her Instagram account, I think there could be monitoring going on of who's accessing and watching her videos over and over and over again to see if they can identify someone that way. I think that's
an interesting
possibility.
point. I just noticed, and I've not been an IG person really. We use it obviously in connection with the show, but I noticed a lot of clips pointing out that there's a new feature on Instagram where you can hold the share button for, I think it's like 3 seconds, and the top 3 people that look at your stuff will pop up.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I didn't even know that either.
Come on, guys, get with it here. What's wrong?
Let me see. Let me go to my IG account. All
Try
right.
that out. See if I've been stalking you.
See. Yeah. See if. Well, wait a second. If I can get to my IG account. There it is.
Yeah. Apparently,
and if you hit the share,
just
you
hold
go to
hold it
yours,
down. Just hold it down.
and then I can see which.
And 3 little blips will pop up, and they will be the ones who most active in your account.
I'm also curious to see with Savannah scheduled to come back April 6th. I'm curious if there will be some sort of message on the 5th to her saying, you know, trying to upset the return kind of thing. I'd be curious if a message comes in right before she's due to return to kind of rattle her.
I don't have that. It looks like it pops up the 3 people I message the most on my Instagram, but not. So I'll have to see about that.
So to your point, Jodine, that's a little tool that may be helping.
Well, I will check it out, Michael. We'll see.
See who's been
see
involved
if
in your Instagram.
See if it looks like me, that it's just as the 3 people you have messaged the most.
See, I never message Instagram ever. But if I
that's because you don't do fashion. You don't go shopping and that message your girlfriend.
I will see 3 people pop up, and since I don't message anybody,
I'm the plaintiff addicted to shopping on Instagram. I'm one of those. Okay, or probably I'm adult, so you know.
Well, I have proven that if you don't message somebody, then the 3 that pop up are the ones most active on your account. So that's all I can say.
Interesting.
Okay, so moving from the Guthrie case to the most recent case following.
As we do that, I want to remind everybody to hit the subscribe, like, share, notify, and hype button, please, if you would. That gets us into the algorithm. Also, if anyone donates memberships, which usually they do, last week was a huge week for us on memberships. You have to be a subscriber to get memberships. And I understand that one of our new mods is now putting it that you can't even chat with people unless you're a subscriber. Being a little tougher than we were. I don't know. I put everyone can talk, but I think Joy Schmehar said she's
a hard ass. She's not letting people in.
She won't let you in to talk unless you're a subscriber. You know why So I mean, maybe I should try that out myself in the future. But anyhow, please hit. And then also, since Jodine is our guest, she also has a Patreon page. We have it in our chats. We'll probably put it back up here too, and subscribe to that if you feel like you can, because she's fabulous, and also her X account at Jodine Weber. So
some folks are saying, well, we're going to chat about the Fitz Simmons case, more specifically about the cop, Mr. Nunan. They're like, well, FBI is not involved in that case. They're not going to be. We know that Tim Bradel mentioned.
Just wait.
In the final presser that the FBI was looking into certain aspects that extend maybe beyond the case. But what's your gut reaction to that? And I wasn't going to get into showing some of Nunan's testimony, but because you're specifically referencing it, I may grab that. So if I look distracted in a moment or two, just nothing personal. I'm working on finding that. So go ahead.
Okay. Well, despite Essex County DA not wanting to prosecute Justin for that alleged break-in and the cyber intrusion and the bank accounts that were accessed, the FBI doesn't need his permission. The FBI can open their own investigation with concurrence of the United States Attorney's Office. And as we've discussed previously, there's potential federal exposure here. So I think the FBI may very well be looking into what's been going on here, specifically with that break-in to her home where there was destruction of property, there were things taken, her passport, a pension account was accessed, identity theft was utilized to access some of these online accounts, a bank account was accessed. You're talking about a potential wire fraud there, a cyber intrusion. There's a lot there. And you could even have potentially the parents exposed as accessories after the fact. It was their Wi-Fi system that was utilized. So I think all of that will be looked at federally.
It starts to remind me of the Senator Birchmore case where the locals said suicide, no big deal, nothing to see here, and the Fed stepped in and filed the charges again.
Right.
So let's assume they get involved. Bank fraud, I thought of, wire fraud, I don't know, identity theft. I know. What are the most realistic, based on what you know at this point?
I think the cyber intrusion and the identity theft and possibly a wire fraud.
Okay. And what are the penalties for those kinds of charges?
He's looking at some serious time. I mean, you could be looking at combined up to, the last time I checked, up to 20 and serious time you would do for that combined, especially. I would be worried if I were him. I'd be very concerned.
And how about the people with him? Are those just flippers? His brother or the two other firefighters?
I think
or
the
are
FBI
they,
will try to approach probably the two other firefighters before the brother.
Yeah.
And try to flip them and find out, well, what did you see? When was this planned? And try to get them to cooperate. And they'd be stupid not to cooperate. They'd be stupid not to flip against him.
And we did hear Jodine. I don't know if you saw the great interview, and not from us, but because just he was such a great guest in terms of the answers. Will Page did.
Yes, I did watch.
And we can put that up in our chat or run it across the screen, the link to that. Obviously he came on, he's just wonderful. And he said that there was a second door off the hinges in a different time before the one that was
the bust-in. Yeah.
Before the bust-in and all. I'm not sure exactly how he phrased it, but that was the general information that he gave us that we had not heard before. So how do you go about looking to see or finding to see who may have busted the door off the hinges a previous time before the camera had been put up by Mr. Page?
Well, I would definitely check out neighborhood cameras. I would want to do a neighborhood camera, see if any of the neighbors had that. I would be looking at geolocation of those individuals to see where were their phones. Do we have geolocation data for them, even off their vehicles, to see if they're in proximity to Kelsey's on a previous location in that time window where there wasn't the cameras. I think there could be neighbors who may have seen them. He's there routinely. They would recognize him. They may have even spoken to him. So I think there are avenues to pursue there as far as investigation to identify how and when that door damage may have occurred.
And I think I said Will, but it was Steve or Dad who put the cameras in.
Yeah, Steve Fitz Simmons did the camera work. It was Will and Steve that went on the 2nd, July 2nd. Remember the break-in was July 3rd. They went July 2nd to, get in there, and Kelsey's 2 days in the hospital at that point, and they just wanted to check on stuff, get things they needed, and they go in that first porch door, the one that ultimately is broken in the next day. Then there's the door into the house. It was that door that was just totally off the hinges and done. So you mentioned neighbors. When I went out there and recorded the whole scene, and the neighbor that is just past the house, and it is a very busy intersection, and I'm not sure if there are any houses the way it's situated that point in their direction. It's just very bizarre the way it's laid out next to the school there. But the neighbor right next door said they had some conversations with Justin over time, but nothing more than that. But they might, who knows, once that happened and you're aware your neighbors had this issue, maybe you're looking over the fence a little more.
Your neighbors know exactly what's going on. Okay.
Yeah.
Anytime you have your windows open, they know when you have somebody at your house. They know if you're coming home in the middle of the day to fool around with someone who isn't your spouse. They know when you put out your trash. Your neighbors are watching you. Believe me,
and
because I've interviewed a lot of neighbors. And got some fantastic info out of them.
And someone in our chat points out this is next to a school, as Michael very well knows. There's got to be Michael's school cameras.
That's
around.
right.
You would think shooting from the school back toward the house might be, it wouldn't show the front because of the location, but might show coming and going along the street there.
Well, right. And school buses have cameras. There's ever any buses in that parking lot might have caught something too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Well, now let's jump into Nunan here. Is there anything in particular? Because we're going to kind of have to play a little of our favorite game, True Crime Roulette. Because I don't have anything queued up specifically, but was it direct, cross? What was it that struck a chord with you?
Well, I had a lot of problems with his direct testimony to begin with, and then it just got worse on cross-examination.
Do you want to start with why it's a bad shoot first and go back, or do you want to do?
Sure, we can do that. So I think
Michael?
Yeah.
The first thing I would say, I had such a problem with their failure to secure the scene, clear the scene, and maintain the scene. That's problem number one. The fact that we heard testimony about how Lieutenant Daly said that he was told, well, she might even shoot the baby, and that he made them all aware that she could really be volatile and that they could be in danger. And then they didn't secure that premises to keep other individuals from entering, namely her mother and Justin and Courtney. For all they know, Justin and Courtney could have been armed and been a threat to Kelsey or to them potentially. You know,
Justin
that
could
was
have
a
been armed.
problem.
Wait a second. No one's talked about whether or not Justin could have been armed, Jodine. Oh, my
I mean,
jaw
they
is
don't
dropping
know.
again.
Did they pat him down? Did they search him? That's the first thing I thought of. I'm like, why are you letting these people into this home without knowing if they're armed or not? They
And
could be
allowing
just as
him
dangerous to you as what you think Kelsey is.
and allowing him to go in the basement where she said the guns were.
Yes,
Now, we know
that's
now
me. I
that
was
that's
like,
not
what
true,
are you doing?
but
What
they
are you
still let him
doing?
go down there.
Right. So that bothered me. And then they say, and then they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. They're saying, oh, she's this big threat and she may shoot the baby, but then she's so credible. We believe her when she says the guns are in the basement and we don't even go down to see if the guns are in the basement. Then they let her move around the house. That's a mistake. She's going to be upset. You go to any mother and say, we're taking your baby. She knows she may lose her job. She may lose her house. She knows her relationship's over at this point. You don't let anyone wander around a home where they can access a weapon in a drawer, in a closet, on a shelf, in a box, in a safe, anything. That was a problem. So the fact that there was all that to begin with was problematic, number one. Then we have him talking about the timing. And him saying it was 3 to 4 seconds when she pointed the gun allegedly at him, he claims, and she pulled the trigger and he said it didn't go off. And then he said she tap-racked. Well, I have had a gun jam when I've been in a live training session. And it takes a good second to realize, oh, it didn't go off. I have to look. Oh, it's jammed. Okay, now I got to clear it. I got to tap it. I got to rack it. And sometimes you don't get that jam out the first time. The fact that he said 3 to 4 seconds, to me, that really, really seemed quick, given, I think, her level of training and her experience. I can see it possible if you're a very good marksman, but to me, that just seemed way too quick. And then even when he was cross-examined, on cross-examination, he kind of changed it a little bit. And he said, well, she seemed to have trouble cycling the weapon. And that is possible when you try to move the slide. Sometimes your hand slips if it's sweaty. Sometimes you don't get a good grip. Sometimes it's hard if the jam is in a particular configuration within the slide. But to me, that just the timing of it seemed odd. So I had a problem with that.
And we don't know about, that was one of the things that bothered me, was that after the fact, they said there was a cartridge in there. Of course, there were major chain of custody issues who could have actually put it in there.
Right.
But it's very possible that the gun loaded had just never been racked. So there was never a bullet in there.
It just didn't seat properly.
Right. So it wasn't jammed per se. It just was never really loaded into the chamber.
Correct. And really, that's one of the questions I'm going to get to here. And I think that's number 5 on my list, is we don't necessarily know if he always said it was tapped and racked, or if he said originally it was she had to reload. Because I remember when I was on with you all in the fall, the reports where he said reload. And now all of a sudden it's tap rack, which indicates a jam. And remember, before trial started, Tim Bradel wanted that third-party shooting investigation, the actual interviews and the recordings of the individual people who were present. And the third-party investigator said, well, we turned that all over to the North Andover police. And then the North Andover police said, well, we don't have those statements. And I'm like, well, of course you don't have those statements, because somebody's changing their story here and the verbiage is changing. And you don't want Bradel to be able to say, well, that's not what you said back in June. That really raised a red flag with me right off the bat, the fact that they didn't have that, and that just didn't evaporate into thin air. Where are those reports and where are those recordings?
We know that they got the transcripts on the day of trial, because Bradel had been asking for him right up to the point they began. And he used that against Nunan at that point at the end where the whole hand-holding incident and the why, remember that, how that all played out? The story he told was consistent in the report and on the stand up to the point where he said, I then took her hand, right? And then he asked her, this is his testimony in that CIC report. He asked her why. And then she got cold and wouldn't say anything and looked at him with the death stare. That's his story in the report, not in the trial during direct and not in any other form before that. Now, we know that in Kelsey's testimony, she's the one that said why.
Right.
It is so diametrically opposed. You just
Right.
have to ask, well, why did he not include that in his direct testimony unless he was afraid of it coming back to bite him in the ass, which it did.
Right.
And Jodine, we interrupted you, but I wanted to point out that the defense did not get Daly's testimony. So you make a good point when it comes to Nunan. I did not get his report, 4-page report, until after he had testified. That was a revelation that we got from Tim
That's like
Bradle.
Jen McCabe all
After.
over again with Brian Tully, getting it like weeks after she testified. It's the same thing.
Must be in
So
the
I
manual
also
there.
have a lot of problems with where he said he was located. Remember, Kelsey said he went down a few stairs. He said, first I was on the landing. Then he said I was in the door frame. Well, even if you are in the door frame, which I don't believe, but even if you are still causing an egregious error to allow her in the room where she can access a weapon and you're not right there on top of her. You're too far away. So that's a problem. But his verbal commands, what he said and what he didn't say, that's very problematic. He said, Kelsey, don't do it. Kelsey, don't do it. Or Kelsey, no. We've heard different variations of that. Well, to me, that is not a command. That is a plea. And if you really have a muzzle of a gun pointed at you and you're a law enforcement officer, you don't have any obligation to give any command. You are in imminent danger right then and there. You can return fire. So the fact he said anything to begin with, I found that odd if you really had a gun pointed at you. But number two, you're not going to say either Kelsey no or Kelsey don't do it. You're going to say drop the gun. Let me see your hands, freeze, something to that effect, if you're going to give a verbal command. So I have a problem with that. The fact he said he was standing in that door frame and she's going for a gun, why aren't there any verbal commands then? Don't move. Let me see your hands, freeze. He didn't testify about any of that. So that to me didn't make any sense at all. I had a real problem with that.
Yeah, to me, it was like, if all these things happened and they're right in front of your face, why are you waiting until the gun is in theory pointed at you? Well,
right.
Because she had to open up that chest, reach
get
in,
it out,
get the gun. And if he's just standing there in the doorway like Super Cop,
right?
Why would you let that unfold? No, it's just not.
Believable.
Can we look at a little bit now from just his testimony? Yeah. And this is just his, I believe, because I'm doing it by looking at it, seeing the action. I think this is where he talks about the actual gun being aimed at him. Let's see if I can get this going here. Stand by. Here we go.
Watch how he uses his arms.
Just in general?
Just to show the stance in general first, yes. Thank you.
So this is on cross.
So she grabs it, comes up, pulls the trigger. And that's not, I don't think that's what he was asking you. But
So just what's the modified Weber stance? What is it?
There.
And can you describe it? What are you doing when you do a modified Weber stance?
Strong side. All right. So if I'm righty, this is my strong side. That's going to grab the pistol, and I use my support hand to support the weapon.
Are you righty?
I'm sorry?
Are you righty?
I am.
So, but he writes with his left hand. That was a whole different issue. Anyway, what do you think about his description of what you
do? So notice how he put his arms out extended like that. If she had, he's demonstrating that
the gun would be right in his chest.
Right. And the fact that had he shot her with her arms out like that, because he says the gun is pointed at him, the physics of it would knock her back. She would drop that weapon. It wouldn't be found underneath her where they have to roll her off.
How about Jodine this? If she has like the gun like this, right? How does she get shot in center mass, little towards the left of the chest?
Exactly. You'd be blocking it. You'd hit the hands first. There are so many police officers who are shot in the hands by perpetrators because they've got their guns out. in shooting conflicts. So that to me made no sense at all.
Well, Linda, you forget that she was in the middle of her Charlie's Angels move at the time.
Yeah, the
She was
kneeling and
shot,
then backing
so,
up and
yeah.
then that was that. I didn't believe that either. And then the fact he got off 2 shots, the first one between 3 and 7 feet. And the first one he misses completely, which to me completely supports Kelsey's testimony. The fact that he was panicked. He didn't have a sight picture. If he had a sight picture, he would not have missed at that close of a distance. There's just no way. I mean, we used to train at the 5-yard line, which is 15 feet. And we would do strong hand shooting, which is one-handed, and then weak hand shooting. And as long as you have a sight picture, you're gonna hit your target, even if it's moving. And
What
as
is
a
a sight
SWAT
picture?
personnel,
Tell us what
you
a
train
Jodine,
with
tell
moving
us,
targets.
Jodine, tell us what a sight picture is.
Oh, so on the gun, you have a sight where you have to line up a point on the front of your gun in the sight prong picture. And then once you have that lined up, that'll show you if you will hit your target. So you want to line that up to center mass or major organs in order to hit your target. And so when you track a target, you have your sight picture on it as they move. And as a SWAT person, trained SWAT operator, he should have been, there's really no reason. If he had a sight picture, he should have missed. That to me supports this was a panic type of reaction. This wasn't a definitive, I've got a gun pointed at me, I'm going to draw down and shoot.
Now, there are people online, before we go, I just want to ask you one follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
Online who say, well, what does it matter whether you believe him or not? I have a problem because she said she wanted to kill herself and him shooting her saved her life.
Well, that's really, I almost don't even want to dignify that with the response. Number one, it is against the policy of the police department to shoot someone who is potentially engaging in self-harm. That's number one. That came out at trial. But number two, she barely survived. She could have died. And we're not, I mean, whether or not that gun was pointed at him or not, you know, I don't know. This is a justified shoot. I have a lot of questions about that. So that's a problem to me. I also think the fact that she said she had to go in the safe, he said she had to go in a box. I think it's much more likely the gun was in the safe because there were other guns in the safe as opposed to that box. Kelsey testified that box was not on top of the safe when she went and reached for her firearm. So to me, that suggests potential staging of the scene. And I'm worried if once she was shot and they went to seize her weapon, they rolled her off the weapon and they seized it, if they found that it was unloaded, how did the weapon become loaded? You know, I think that is still a question. I think there are people that doubt the authenticity of what they found at the scene because the officer that seized the weapon didn't even write a report. How do you not write a report when you are seizing the weapon in an officer-on-officer shooting?
Yeah, and nobody gets drug tested either.
Right, that's another thing.
Don't need to mess with that. Here's a question for you that we maybe can all round table here. Jodine Weber, what about them saying if she was found guilty, they were not going to ask for jail time? Why spend all this money on trial? Well, I don't know. Anybody want to volunteer for a felony conviction? Anybody want to do that just because you're not going to do jail time? Thoughts, Jodine?
Yeah, well, I think it was like, you know, they were going to persecute her one way or the other. And, you know, they were going to go and put on the show and do it for the boys club. And I think you're right. Get the felony conviction and
ruin her life.
Yeah. I mean, she can't ever work as a cop again with a felony conviction.
Yeah. And I thought it was also interesting. She said last night, and we got the revelation they weren't going to do jail time from Martha Coakley. Tim Bradle said last night, as you let me go back up. As you know, Kelsey and Tim Bradle appeared on AIDAN Carney's show last night. It was an incredible interview. If you've not seen it, go watch it. He deserves the credit for it, and he deserves for you to watch it on his website. All right, but Tim Bradle revealed that was something we hadn't known before, that Martha Coakley went to the police and even if you get convicted, so then why are they prosecuting her, especially since the grand jury rejected his murder trial, the murder indictment and all. And there was a couple other revelations there that Kelsey didn't even know she had done anything wrong. She didn't know she was being charged with anything when she was in the hospital because in her mind, she was trying to kill herself.
Right.
So it was a big shock when she found out that she was being charged.
Right. And I also thought it was interesting when AIDAN asked, he's like, do you think they did this because you represent me? And I just felt so bad for him. I felt, you know, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, people are going after AIDAN for saying that, but that was the talk of social media.
Yeah.
When the McCarthy name and issue happened, but she just hates Bradle because of AIDAN. So people forget, you know, those haters, they come out. They came out after me today for troll because, as you know, I represent AIDAN in the New Jersey case. But they forget that literally was the talk of the internet. Now,
well, I would say, and I'll be brutally honest, I would say it to AIDAN's face who's here, I think that's probably a little bit of almost the survivor guilt / arrogance, because I don't think he's that important to the mix as to what they were doing to Kelsey Fitz Simmons. Maybe coincidental, they got the same attorney. I don't think it motivated anybody to do anything against Kelsey.
Yeah.
They did a lot of stuff against him.
Now, along with your list that you're going to continue for the bad shoot, Maxed Out Mama says, didn't he keep changing the distance? I seem to remember at one point he said 3 feet from him. Jodine?
He said 3, then I said up to 7.
Yep.
And to me, whether it's 3 or 7, you didn't have your sight picture because you hit the air conditioner and she's literally just beyond an arm length away, because I believe it was Tim Bradle that said, so about an arm's length, right? He's like, well, maybe a little further. Well, okay. Well, you keep saying she's backing up while on her knees and doing the Charlie's Angel thing, like Michael said. You claim that you're in the doorway. And that's another thing. Originally, I'm pretty sure he said she ducked behind a door.
Right.
Now
and
it
then
gets
turns out there was no door. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael noticed that initially when he was with the real estate, when he was up there, and I think you went and looked at the real estate listing when you were up there looking at the prison and all that the jail that she was in. Wow. So we have more questions, by the way. By the way, as we ask these questions of Jodine, and it's going to continue her list, please subscribe, like, share, notify. And also, Michael Bryant has been up there like about 50 times now. It's expensive to go up there. If you feel it in your heart, please donate to Justice Serve TV. Our mods are going to put up, who do a great job volunteering here. But we do this for the love, but you know, we hate to like lose money on it. So, you know, if you feel it in your heart, please pay for his gas at least, or his donuts.
We don't have lofty goals. Just don't want to lose any money. So, Jody, what was that? The chief taking Nunan's weapon and giving Nunan his weapon.
I'm trying to get that back up.
Third, I could not believe that. First off, what's the chief going to use as his service weapon then? I mean, that to me was unbelievable. I can see it's common practice when there is a shooting incident for the officer involved to have his weapon seized so that it can be part of the third-party investigation, etc. But if he's given another weapon in the interim, usually you have your chief firearms person bring out a weapon from the vault. You don't take the chief's gun. That was unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
It's it's like Mayberry, you know, it's like a Barney Fife type stuff, you know?
Yeah. And I just really, you know, listening to Aidan's program last night, just the boys club mentality. It really came
It's such
through.
a cliche, and we've seen it now in case after case. And we know, you know, I've talked to a lot of folks who are up there about this, you know, generational bias that seems to exist against women, and it's all about the boys. And I don't know. I've mentioned before that I talked to a woman who has 2 daughters, one in the Massachusetts State Police and one in a local cop shop, and they are so overwhelmed. Her daughter finishes 7th in a class of 150. She's only one of 5 women in the whole class.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how they do it. And then I wonder why they subject themselves to that. But it's this weird regional, inbred, multi-generational mindset that just poisons the process. And I don't know. It's like they can't get out of it.
Well, and it's not just there. You know, we saw it in Norfolk County. We see it in Stoughton with Sandra Birchmore.
Well, that's
I mean,
all the same. I mean, that's
it's
all the
all
same area.
Massachusetts, right?
Yes.
And Massachusetts State Police and the district attorney, the prosecutors. You know, it's one thing to have the dirty cops, but we're also seeing dirty prosecutions or unnecessary prosecutions. And I have said on my podcast, I worry about the women and children up there. I really do.
Yeah, no, I can see it. And you're so honest and terrific. So somebody wants to ask Rhonda, Hank69, Jody, what about charging Nunan?
Well, the DA is not going to charge him.
No.
You know, that's the whole, I mean, again, that's the catch-22 here. Here they're prosecuting Kelsey. I mean, originally they were going to charge her with second-degree murder, and the grand jury rejected that. Now they're not even going to go after her for jail time, even had she been convicted. Make that make sense. That makes no sense.
Now, I apparently undid a star. I don't know if Joy and everyone can find it in my quest to undo some of the stars when we get the questions, but I want to bring you back from Nunan to Justin Alain. There was a commenter, and I'll see if we can find it, that was in our chat earlier, who said that Justin is known to carry his gun all the time. He's a known carrier. I saw too. And I had it starred, so I'd find it again, but now I'm into some of his font and tall and wide, and so I don't know how that happened.
While you're acknowledging this.
Yeah. Oh, by the way.
Yeah, well, and
while you're looking, Boston,
that's one of the things that
781.
bothered me when they did not secure that scene. I was like, how do you know he doesn't have a gun? You're just letting him in there. How do you know he's as mad at her enough to get a restraining order? How do you know he's not a threat to her?
That's fascinating. And if you, whoever put that comment up, just re-put it up so I can find it if you can. If not, you can just redo the comment. I'll see it. And I want to thank Boston, Massachusetts 783. Michael, that's your donuts for your next trip. Thank you for all you do.
I can get a cruller with that.
That's fabulous. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. So are we finished our list with that, why this is a Nunan bad shoot, or did we interrupt you?
I think that's everything.
We definitely interrupted.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. There was so much, but yeah, it was. I just didn't find, I mean, I know the judge said he found them both credible. Well, I didn't find him credible, but
well, I think he had to say certain things like that just to,
for the record.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do think the ultimate point is we need body camera systems for the safety of the public, but also for safety of the officers. Had there been body camera, there would, you know, we would have images. Where were you? We would know where you're standing. We would know what you would see. We would know if that muzzle was pointed at you. We would hear exactly what was said. There wouldn't be different versions of what commands were given. We would know, did she reach in a box? Did she reach in a safe? We would know, was the firearm potentially manipulated after it was seized? We would know all those things.
And here you go. Here's the comment. Common Sense Investigator. Hi, Common Sense Investigator. It was me. Yes, Justin is known to always carry. Wow, what a revelation we're making on Justice Serve TV, because I haven't seen that before, Common Sense Investigator. Thank you so much for pointing that out and having, you know, the knowledge to point it out and not being afraid to point it out also.
Wouldn't it have been nice if he had been checked on the, day that he was there?
And, you know, Kelsey's mom was in there too. At the beginning, she was holding the baby. What if one of them came in and was like, give me the baby, and pulled a gun on her? You know, I mean, there was so much wrong that it just really, really, I was having like an antihistamine reaction watching this. I'm like, I'm going to break out in hives.
You are now. You're doing it right now. And speaking about people that thank us for all we do, the Goodmans, who are really good with Will DeGlara. They came to us through Will DeGlara. By the way, Will raised $25,000 for his 12-hour marathon for Kelsey the other day. He's a friend of this channel. The Goodmans gifted 5 Justice Serve TV memberships, but to get them, you have to be a subscriber. So subscribe, like, share, notify, and hype. Thank you, the Goodmans. Always a pleasure.
Okay, we got through the list. If you had to, what was the most egregious thing on your list?
Gosh.
There's so many.
Well, I think not clearing the scene for firearms. not securing Kelsey in one location where she couldn't move around and not searching everything to find however many guns were on that premises. Had they done that, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah. And
somebody else just mentioned, something that that Nunan did not do, which would have been an easier thing to do, is just yell gun when he first saw.
That's another thing, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And typically that does happen when you see a gun, you yell gun. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. You love the judge?
He was good. He was good. And do you think he wore purple for a reason?
Was he wearing purple? I missed
it.
Was his shirt purple?
Like, oh, maybe that's a sign.
Was his top? What? His shirt was purple? I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is why we're lawyers, and
I'm the investigator.
The investigator who we adore, absolutely adore. So lucky to have her. So lucky that she was our first book club member. Wow. So where do you want to see this go from here? Because again, there's other people who have said, and I'm going to give the bad stuff so we can respond to it, who said, well, if Kelsey in that second came to the fact that she wanted to kill herself, maybe Justin was right getting a restraining order to say that she was a danger to herself and the baby.
Well, did she have any suicide ideation before she was served? Because if not, to me, that doesn't show an ongoing problem. She had been cleared from her postpartum depression. She'd been cleared to go back to work. And I think, when you think about the fact you go through any sort of police academy, or in my case, the FBI academy, that's a major accomplishment, especially in a boys' world, boys' club kind of environment. That's a very big accomplishment to graduate from that. She's looking at potentially losing her career. She's got a restraining order being issued against her with no affidavit provided so she can read what he's alleged against her. That would make me infuriated.
Before you move on, let me ask you a quick question about that, because we were led to believe that's not normally provided to the recipient. Yes or no in your experience?
Okay, my experience it is.
Okay.
My experience it is.
All
and
right.
so that was odd to me. But she loses her livelihood. She can't afford her house. She's got a 4-month-old infant who's being taken away from her. She's breastfeeding. She's worried about that child. And I really give Kelsey a lot of credit for when she was testifying, for pushing back, when she said, you keep saying 2 weeks, 2 weeks, like that's nothing. That's an eternity to a mother. And she's right. She's absolutely right about that.
And her dog. The only reason her dog didn't get taken is the dog was with the father because they had been away.
Yeah.
And her dog.
I mean, they were just out. And then the whole thing about the car accident on Sunday and accusing her of a hit and run. To me, it just seems like they were out to get her one way or another. Yeah. And it just really, the bridesmaids. Oh,
it's everything. It's like her whole life came tumbling down.
Really, it was all just kind of coming up at one moment. And
after she had been, for some people that understand mental health, after she had been like cleared and been through everything, and everything was wonderful and terrific, and she's working it out with her boyfriend, I'm going to meet you at the park, and then it just comes crashing down. And people don't understand that the third suicides are like spur of the moment because things come crashing down.
Right. Oh. It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. It's a momentary bad moment. I worry more about the mental health of Justin and Land, quite honestly, to do all this. I mean, what kind of mental health do you have to have? I mean, we saw the video of him, shoving in that door and kicking in the door. I think I'm more worried about him and his alleged substance use. I think that I'm worried about that child.
What do you think about him fleeing the scene when shots were fired?
Well, that's another thing.
The cops kind of letting him.
Military training, and I don't know. I don't have a lot of use for Justin.
Yeah, I can see that. So, Darlene Wesley 7299 wants to know, what about the cops being filed into court before the family on that trial day?
Well, I don't know.
We'll let you off the hook on that.
I don't know.
You would think if you just heard the basics about this case, so it's a cop on trial, was shot during this incident, that, oh, the cops are there to support the defendant, right? One of their own who was injured in this incident. No.
No, they're there to support him.
Yeah.
Right.
And speaking of the graduation, how important, of course, Chief Gray was not there for that graduation, which
well, and Chief Gray, he kind of reminds me of Sheriff Nanos out in the Guthrie case. I mean, all these allegations and internal problems, and
yeah, he seems
and I think when you've got potentially corrupt leadership, that all rolls downhill, and you pollute the swamp that way. You really
and
do.
if people want to keep their job, then they toe the line.
Yep.
Yeah. Margaret Mary, 1139. Why was there no crime scene pictures or photographs taken immediately? Jodine?
That's another problem. And the fact that we don't have a report from the officer that sees the gun. That, again, that's just unheard. What is with these Massachusetts cops not documenting anything? I mean, we saw that in Karen Reed, all those missing reports for hundreds of days, sometimes years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, we're talking about two cases, and sometimes you can, Guthrie tonight and Kelsey, and you can almost interchange. The chiefs or the people are bad. There's no documentation, no securing of the crime scene. Mm-hmm. It's like, just change the name. The game is still the same,
Exactly.
It's just terrible. So.
Well, you were able to bring it full circle there with the Guthrie, Nanos, and Nunan at the and Chief Gray in the Massachusetts. So, all right, what can we expect from you? What's coming up in the near future?
Well, we're keeping our eyes on Rex Heuermann and a potential plea.
You think that's going to be a plea deal? It's got to be, right?
I think so.
It's such a I don't like to say slam dunk because in the legal world there's really no such thing, but it really seems like a slam dunk.
Well, between his planning document, the DNA from the various hairs found at the different crime scenes, the technology with the burner phones, the location of calls to victim family members, and everything that they've put together against him. What I am really watching for, though, is if a plea is obtained and once he becomes convicted, then his DNA can be entered into CODIS, because New York has additional restrictions. So his DNA has not been put into CODIS to compare against other unsolved murders. So I'm really curious, are we going to see him linked to additional homicides?
Yeah. Is that because New York requires conviction versus just suspect? Some places suspect. Oh, thank you, Domino. This is Domino. I want attention, Domino.
Oh.
Give me the ball.
Imagine if they were going to take Domino away from you. Michael gets a restraining order, then they take the dog. I mean, the dog. Domino.
There are days when I would say, okay.
All right, so
watching
with us while why don't you stay with us before we let you go? I'm going to tell you what's on deck for the next week, okay? We have a lot going on, obviously. Please hit subscribe, like, share, notify, and hype, and also with Jodine's channel. But tomorrow night, you may have seen it already on YouTube, we have Mark from, everybody in the chat, from Massive Media. And Mark, you saw him. He's after he left, he really raised over $100,000 for Kelsey. He really, I call him his guardian angel. And we've gotten to know such nice people that have really just put their all out for justice. And he's going to have an exclusive interview with us, Kelsey's angel. Maybe we're going to find out where Mark came from, how he got to where he is.
The backstory. How did he get involved? How he's become so successful at doing this, and
what piqued him about Kelsey.
His observations from the trial, all of that stuff. Yeah.
So I know, Jodine, you're going to be around in our chat to watch that. Yes. And then, of course, Wednesday, we have a special show that's in the works right now. By the way, as I see this, Michael, you're going to have to handle the board about new members and what's coming up, because I can't do this without that. And we're also going to have a members only at, I think it's 4 o'clock this Wednesday, which we have entitled Whack Job, Read Proctor Phone Texts. And that's a double entendre, read, because Michael has put together a show involving.
Which one are we talking about now? I can't keep up.
Proctor and Read Wednesday for the members.
Oh, the Wednesday member first. Yeah. We're going to get into all these the overlays with the different uses of the Proctor phone material, because now Karen Reed has a motion pending that basically says, I don't want to use it just in the existing cases. I got another one coming up that we're waiting for the administrative time frame to lapse so we can sue Massachusetts State Police in Canton police, and we want to use what's on that phone in those cases. So we're going to kind of get into some of that.
And then we go
Did we get
to
to Thursday yet?
We're going to Thursday right now. We have a very special guest that we'll just announce for the first time now. Maureen Sullivan-Teresi will be guest starring on our show.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
She is a pistol, that girl. She, she's going to tell us her experiences with Nunan and
reached out to Mike Crawford. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And we'll get into all of that. That became, when it was entered into evidence, there was no jury. I think it would have been cleaned up if there was, because it was a little confusing, because the cross tried to discredit her because of her, her bias. What, she has a true crime bias? Is that a bad thing? I don't know.
Bias? Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll get into all of that with Maureen.
Yeah. And her as everyone in Massachusetts, every cop call another defendant a whack job, we'll find out. We'll see from her directly about a testimony. And then we're going to project into next week members only, something that I feel near and dear to my heart. We'll have my client on, Jennifer Shahade, who is got a new book that's being published out on next Tuesday, called Thinking Sideways. She's a 3-time women's grandmaster chess champion. I mean, it's a women's grandmaster. I mean, she just thinks sideways, and that's how she got to where she is. But she's had a lot to do with the legal system. So she's going to tell us how it has to do with the legal system. She's a big supporter of the Innocence Project. So we'll see her next Wednesday for members first at 2 o'clock next Wednesday. That's been confirmed. So stay tuned to Justice Served TV. You'll get all these notifications if you subscribe, like, share, notify, and of course, hype. And then you get to see Jodine.
Yes, Jodine again. Remember the book? Remember the book right there? There it is.
Thank you, everybody. And
False
thank you
deception.
to all the members that wrote to me. I've sent out your nameplates. And if you are still reading the book and you want a nameplate, I will happily sign it. Just go to my website, JodineWeber.com, fill out the contact information and say, send me a nameplate and give me your address, and I will happily send you a signed nameplate.
Very nice. And because of you, I learned about that. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
Somebody found a book of mine and had me do that. And I said, that's great, because Jodine Weber told me how you do that. That's good.
Yeah. So it's a great way if people live all over the place and you can't see them in person, it's at least a way to sign their book for them.
Yeah, I think it's nice. All right. And then don't forget, Caught in My Web.
Yes. Patreon.com, 5 days a week.
Yeah, and you can, by the way, you can also Cash App us even after the show ends if you wish, our Venmo, whatever. Our mods have it up there on our link tree in our former Twitter account. So please.
And you guys have fantastic mods. Very wonderful mods. We do. So
great.
Yes.
Great.
Thanks for having me on, you guys.
You bet, Joni. Always a pleasure. See you next time.
All right. Take care.
Bye. All righty then. Let's wrap this baby up. And what are we doing tomorrow again? I forgot. Oh yeah, Mark's coming.
Mark Mazamedia will be on, and we're going to be interviewing him, turning the tables, interviewing him.
Yep. All right then, folks. Have a great evening. Appreciate you being here. This is Justice Served TV. Please, one more time for Savannah. It's never too late to do the right thing.